Okay, so picks and bans are just finishing up here. On blue team, we have banned out Warwick, Master Yi, and Xin, so they are sort of learning their lesson after the last few games with all the Feral Flare junglers. Banning out most of the priority ones, and then leaving up, well, Udyr, which is taken by the other team. Then purple team has banned out Jax, Vi, and LeBlanc. Again, very strong solo queue champions, very common bans, nothing really out of the ordinary there. In terms of picks, they have a mid lane Ziggs, a jungle Wukong, a Leona Caitlyn bot lane, and a Cho'Gath top. The split side, they then have a Morgana Jinx bot lane, a what appears to be Malphite top with Yasuo mid, and then an Udyr jungle. On the purple team, I really like their AoE combo that they do have. The Malphite ult into the Yasuo ult, and then, of course, Morgana can clean that up. Jinx can launch her ultimate across the entire team, get the resets, and just chase anyone down who has escaped. On the flip side, they also have a lot of AoE on purple team, so it is going to be pretty much just who lands their AoE combo first and who executes it better. They have the Wukong ult, Leona ult, Cho'Gath knockup, all sort of centered around each other. In the meantime, Ziggs is going to be laying down zone control with his satchel and minefield, poking away with his Q, and of course his ultimate could clean up and take out anyone who is locked down in the initial combo. My only concern, and I've mentioned it in many different workshops, is that Leona Caitlyn is not great synergy. Caitlyn really only wants to poke, she doesn't want any hard engage, and Leona's only use is to hard engage. They're also then countered by the Morgana support. Morgana support's not a hard counter to Leona, but if played properly, it makes Leona's life a hell. Because you can bind her as she's Zenith Blading into your team. You can cancel out her actual stun from her ult and Q with your Black Shield, and you can poke away quite easily with your bindings and your Ws.
I almost think that Morgana is a hard counter to Leona just because of the fact that Leona's all about setting up that mark and setting up some CC. The issue is that her damage is a little bit low. She doesn't actually do a lot of damage. She kind of buffs your teammates' damage, Caitlyn's damage. So if Morgana gets a Black Shield off on the AD carry, then it's going to be almost impossible for Leona to kind of snare her or stop her or even connect to the enemy team, which will essentially kind of shut them down.
Yes, she's definitely a strong counter to it, but when I say not a hard counter, my reasoning is that a properly played Leona is going to wait until they're grouped up together, Zenith Blade in, and then she'll stun whoever is not Black Shielded. So Morgana is very, very squishy. So if Morgana uses Black Shield on herself, you kill the AD carry. If she Black Shields the AD carry, you kill Morgana. It's still a skill matchup, but if played properly, you at least have a way to work around that Black Shield. It's definitely frustrating, and it is a good combo, though.
Yeah, I think what Morgana's going to be trying to do is sort of sit back kind of out of the way and just literally try to get a snare whenever Leona tries to go in and make sure that she Black Shields her AD carry, so the only choice will be the AD carry. The only issue is, you're right, that if Morgana gets snared and then tries to shield herself, then the Leona can use her ulti to quickly switch to the AD carry and kind of blow her up. He also be kind of interesting because Leona's kind of really good at closing gaps, but not at getting away from them.
Yeah, if she finds herself out of position, you have the 3-second CC coming. Excuse me. I have the 3-second CC coming out from Morgana, and of course Udyr, if he's up in your face, Malphite chain slows, Yasuo knock up Jinx traps. She's not going to be able to get back out very easily. Even in lane, just the Jinx traps alone are going to force her to continue that engage, regardless of if it's in her favor or not.
Man, a lot of people are using Ignite. That's kind of interesting too on the purple team. Usually you do that when you're trying to get a lane advantage early. If you're planning on getting a kill before or at level 6, that's like the time to choose Ignite. Outside of that, usually heal is just more beneficial to your team and to yourself, having that speed burst now.
And Ziggs taking Ignite is even more strange because outside of the early laning phase, if he's in range to use Ignite, he's too close.
Yeah, personally, I usually try to go for a level 1 to level 2 kill on Ziggs, so I actually would choose Ignite. And with your auto attack exchange and landing those bombs, if you can kind of harass really, really hard in the early game, you can flash Ignite for an early kill. But that's kind of an all-in strategy. If the Ignite doesn't pay off by level 6, it's really not an advantage for him having Ignite at all because he's just going to be sieging.
Exactly, and versus a Yasuo, if he has half-decent mechanics, should be able to dodge out almost all of Ziggs' trades. He is going to be most likely taking Wind Wallet by level 3, so if Ziggs isn't able to 100 to 0 him before level 3, Yasuo should be relatively safe. He should be able to set up some level of safety with his Wind Wall, with his essentially unlimited dashes dashing between minions, and just his own personal mechanics to dodge out of those skill shots.
Yeah, I think having those dash mechanics is probably his biggest advantage. The Wind Wall, remember, has like kind of a long cooldown, and it won't necessarily affect Ziggs' ulti as long as Ziggs doesn't have a terrible time casting it.
Yes,
However,
but for the level 3 to 5, he can use it to bait Ziggs in. If Ziggs ever tries to, as you mentioned, do like a flash Q ignite auto attack sort of a combo, throw up Wind Wall, boom, you just wasted your summoner spells, I get free farm now.
Yeah.
It's very good for bait
really
potential.
Rough. Yeah, and apparently I found out really recently that Ignite will go through Wind Wall.
Yes.
Yes, I learned that by dying. And I was like, oh, I Wind Walled. I thought that was going to stop it. Turns out I was wrong.
There's nothing worse than that, where you're just like, haha, I'm outplaying you. Oh, wait, I really didn't.
Mechanically and theoretically, I win this fight. The problem is, in actuality, I was wrong on my facts.
So I'm assuming, my understanding is that you guys at Riot generally do all sorts of crazy playtesting with all the new champions, so have you been playing a lot of Braum yet?
I don't really know anything about Braum for the most part. I mean, he's a support with a big shield. Most of that stuff kind of gets changed constantly for balance and new characters, so we're not going to release anything before they've been fully playtested. Sometimes, characters won't even come out because...
Oh, yes. Yeah, but at this point, he's been on PvE for a full week, so I was assuming you guys have been playing him a bit.
Yeah. One of the things about the PvE stuff in new champions is that sometimes we'll test something for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and we are really, really happy with the way they turned out and kind of how they fit into the game. And then when it goes in live, and the massive millions of people try testing out crazy builds, there's something that nobody thought of on the PvE that's really, really strong that we have to, try to counteract. Finding out about Feral Flare, we didn't think it'd be that strong, but once we have people that are amazing junglers really, really abusing its full potential, we go, oh, wow, that is very, very strong. Mm-hmm. So we really try to make as much testing as we can before releasing something, but obviously PvE doesn't have as many people to test as the live servers.
I'm actually wondering why Yasuo is staying here. He's actually... He doesn't need to stay for this leash. I would expect him to have just stayed in lane, started to push, and try and get an early level 2.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising that it kind of went from the jungle stance where everyone would always help for the first pull. Then they were like, well, the new jungle, you don't really need help. And then now everyone's like, well, it just makes it faster, so let's help again. Mm-hmm. The trends change all the time.
For sure. But as a mid laner, I'll use 1 or 2 auto attacks. As a bot laner, you're generally about 2 or 3 auto attacks and then you leave. But for Yasuo, he's put himself behind in experience. He's pushed enough that he's evened it out, but he could have been slightly more aggressive in this lane if he had desired.
That's actually really dangerous for him to get behind, because if Ziggs gets level 2 before Yasuo does, he actually could take that time and that level advantage to just zone Yasuo and not allow him to hit level 2 for a delayed period of time.
That's my favorite thing to do as a support, is just I don't care if I technically should lose the fight, I'm level 2, so we're fighting.
Yeah, I'm going to have a base stat advantage, I have more moves than you, why wouldn't I fight?
Yep.
Oh, very good dodge by Ziggs on that Yasuo tornado. He's going to have to really keep his eyes out and not allow Yasuo to get too many Qs off, because that's kind of Yasuo's long-range attack.
So this was one of my concerns. Cho'Gath has constantly pushed up right from level 1, and so that's going to let Udyr get in behind him. I would have been keeping an eye on that and saying, wait, they have an Udyr, why would I go aggressive? Oh, flash not needed from Malphite, but still a good pickup, setting them way ahead in this lane.
Yeah, Cho'Gath was really too far extended without having good enough vision. That's going to give him a warning to get back way sooner. He did land his stun, which was nice, but it's not going to give you any chance of getting away if Udyr gets one auto attack with that red buff first.
Early teleport gonna keep him from falling too far behind, but he needs to be very careful with how he positions this wave. As Cho'Gath, your early sustain and your early tankiness is very low, actually. So you need to be playing passively, you need to freeze the wave and scale up until you get your first couple items, until you're able to do something. Udyr's actually still here and going in for another gank.
Well, if Cho'Gath is going to allow himself to get overextended again whenever they have that advantage, I'd really like to do what Udyr's doing right now, and you just seal that advantage for your top lane and allow them to take it from here.
Very nice bot lane. I'm actually going to rewind that because I didn't catch what exactly set up that fight.
Basically, it was a lot of Leona kind of missing her snare at the first, and then with Zap and Morgana's snare, they're able to kind of really push the advantage. One of the big things was that if Leona doesn't land that snare and Caitlyn's not able to follow up, as you were kind of talking about at Champ Select, she's not able to hard initiate, so they can just sort of back off. As soon as Leona tries to back off, then they attack and press the advantage.
Some good bindings coming out from Morgana here. This is what happens when I start playing a champion in solo queue. Without fail, come that Sunday, everyone's playing it in a workshop.
Yeah, in League of Legends, the funny thing is that you kind of see trends in this stuff in Champ Selects, is that someone might be popular for a while. It's not that they're any better than they were before or that anything has been changed about them, but people have found something new about that champion that's really fun. And once other people have discovered the same thing or seen you do it, then it's the most popular champion the next week.
Oh, yeah. Well, I remember one week we had 3 victors in a row, just because I was playing a lot of Victor that week. Then last week, I believe I played about 25 solo queue games of Morgana on my stream. And so, of course, here we have more Morganas.
Yeah, what will end up happening with that is people will, use that really cool thing that you figured out about the champion, play them a whole lot, and then as soon as people figure out how to counter that champion, and then it drops off.
Exactly. Or I start losing with it in solo queue, then they flame me, and it's all my fault that they're losing.
Yeah, I find that if I play on Riot Sneaky and I'm an AD carry, I'll have roughly 3 to 4 people on bot lane at all times attacking me and tower diving.
Oh yeah, and anytime I've played like an ARAM or a viewer game or anything with a Riot, it's literally, it doesn't matter, you're just going to be focused every game. You can be in your base and they're just going to be suiciding in to try and land that kill.
I'm not going to lie, it's got to be fun, just kill a Rioter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just be like, well, I played against Riot Sneaky, killed him 5 times, it was pretty awesome. And I'm sitting here, I'm just trying to play. Wow, Leona actually landed the snare, but even following up with 2 additional spells, it didn't stop the Black Shield at all. And if Morgana maxes that, Leona's going to start to get more and more useless in fights until she can pick up some more items.
I wouldn't mind seeing a extra point or 2 put into Black Shield, just because of the possibility of Leona breaking it. But generally speaking, I would prefer in this matchup to be maxing Q, then maxing W second, so that every time I land a binding, I can contribute that extra damage. I think that's just my solo Q mentality, where I don't want to rely on my AD carry for damage.
Yeah, and that's basically a lot of what it is that if you're really protecting your ADC... Oh man, Wukong very low here. I think he's going to get executed.
Yep.
Yeah, a little low to start that. Yeah, you're going to find that with Morgana is that if you have a really good AD carry who's doing heavy pokes, even Jinx, and you're worried about it, you want to max your shield. But if the Leona's not landing her snares or she's not a danger, start maxing your Q to land more kills. Because not only does it do more damage and help seal that, but the snare lasts longer. So with the Jinx snares, with her Zap as well as her little chompers, you can hold somebody there for almost 5 seconds.
And comboing it in with the Morgana ult, which they're going to have access to quite soon. She's about halfway to level 6 here.
Leona's feeling it right now.
Oh, yeah. So I want to take another peek back at top lane here. It looks as though Cho'Gath, I mean, he's still behind on experience, but he's actually head in farm. He's 10 CS up, and I'm not sure if that's just Malphite not being able to land his last hits, or if it's because Malphite is constantly pushing and Cho'Gath is just getting that free farm.
I don't know. The one issue that Cho'Gath has had is that He's gone too overextended multiple times. And by using your E, it's just going to automatically push the lane even though you don't want to. So I think that he's going to need to turn that off and really just focus on last hitting and using that health and mana per kill to sort of just like gain some farm in a really, really safe position.
I think a lot of the issue, though, is that...
Accurate.
Oh, I'll take another look there. Looks like they should be able to get out of this. Yeah. Nice bind for final
landed
disengage.
about 75% to 80% of her snares so far. It's really, really good.
Oh, going back in there.
Wukong, this might be a dangerous option. If Morgana had enough mana and she was able to get her ulti off, that would have been it for them. Oh, but Jinx walking into a trap.
And she's dead.
Morgana playing a little too safe and not really protecting the ADC there.
Very good flash stun going down mid from Udyr. Yasuo knockup comes in, ult falls, and that's a free kill.
Really, really well played. Yasuo had been able to stay in lane against Jinx, just dodging him, make him run low on mana, and then if that Udyr can get that flash bear form stun, it's going to pretty much seal the deal for Ziggs. He's too squishy to take all those hits.
And once he gets some items on him, it's going to just snowball even further in his advantage. I would like to see... Oh, no, actually, Ziggs has gone for Chalice. If you're versus an AD opponent like this, I personally opt to go for a second Doran's Ring, so I still have enough mana to farm and poke with, but I also have the flat health to resist, and then I work on my Arm Guard. Arm Guard is so gold efficient in terms of defense and offensive stats that it's pretty much required versus someone like Yasuo, Talon, Zed.
Top lane. This Cho'Gath is playing really, really ballsy for not having any health. He's already burned his flash. He's burned most of his cooldowns. He Malphite ultied and kind of cleared the wave, allowing the tower to start hitting Cho'Gath. So when Cho'Gath turned to use his knockup, he actually took an extra tower hit and really, really set him low, low, low health.
Very poor communication here, actually. Like they get the kill onto Udyr for no particular reason. But Malphite went back to base. Instead of just shoving in, Yasuo was in behind ready to dive, and instead the laner just left.
Yeah, I don't know why Cho'Gath tried to fight Udyr right there. Udyr has double buffs. He's a very, very tanky champion. Kind of hard to kill. And I know that they're trying to like get that chance to take him down, but why risk it when you're that far behind? The biggest, hardest thing to do, especially in most of these games, is not to make bad plays when you're frustrated. Still play smart, play safe.
Fantastic ultimate coming out from Morgana here. Having played a lot of Morgana recently, she's just doing absolute work in this bot lane. I mean, it's not as though Jinx is slacking by any means. Jinx is playing quite well, but Morgana is just handing this lane to her on a silver platter.
Yeah, she's landing those snares. Jinx is already a very, very high burst champion. And one of the other cool things is that she got Frostfang, which as a support is like one of my favorite items to get. Just as long as you keep those auto attacks up, you're getting paid the entire game for it. And even if you get the kill, just auto attack the tower, and you're still getting gold. She's already gotten 225 tribute gold and passive gold 145. And we're only 12 minutes into the game. So imagine that, 10 minutes from now.
And it's important to keep in mind that Morgana's Tormented Soil now ticks twice per second, and it procs Frostfang and Spell Thief's Edge. So dropping it on an enemy champion immediately procs all 3 charges of it, and does the bonus damage.
Yeah, really, really good item for Morgana, Lulu, a lot of those champions that are kind of, even Zyra, that are very, very aggressive and can just constantly spam so they can get those stacks and use the charges.
And you can't forget Karma, because Karma's amazing.
Yeah, my brother actually, my brother, his summoner is Infernal, and he plays Karma support a lot. He absolutely loves her.
Yeah, I've been using Karma for a really long time, and recently all I've really been playing is Karma mid, Karma support, just as often as I can.
Yeah, she's a really cool skill shot champion. I just haven't really put in the time. She's kind of like Lee Sin to me, where if you don't want to put in the time to really master that champion, it may not be worth investing.
Ziggs getting in behind here, a lot of poke on. Ultimate comes out, heal goes down, but Ziggs is definitely going to be able to clean that up. They're then going to turn around onto Morgana. Black Shield is down, but that's not going to stop the auto attack damage coming out from Caitlyn. Desperation ult comes down. Very nice Ziggs ult.
Yeah. Looks like Morgana was just trying to get a suicide at the end there and just hopefully pull something out of it. Caitlyn's really low.
Yeah, Yasuo was able to land a double knock-up with his Q, and then followed in with the ult and chain onto it. I would have
Yeah.
liked to see Caitlyn focusing Udyr, because that's who Ziggs was hitting. They needed to pick off either of the two targets. Udyr was all up in Ziggs' face, hitting him, just taking him down as fast as he could. So if the three of them turned onto Udyr, they would have killed him almost immediately, and then they could have either decided to fight Yasuo if they had enough CC to deal with him, or retreat and not have had that happen.
Yeah, of the two, Udyr's normally tankier than Yasuo, but Yasuo, you don't want to allow him to get too many kills, get fed. So Caitlyn's priority was, the immediate person on him, and the Ziggs, who was a little bit far ahead, he didn't have a choice but to fight Udyr. The issue is that if they both try to fight them individually, neither of them are going to die, so they had to pick and choose, and that's just a lack of team coordination. Which is going to be hard to do in the heat of the situation. But really, really well played by Yasuo as well, kind of like using that shield wall so Ziggs wasn't able to turn on him. So Udyr would have had to have been the choice in that situation. Yasuo's been able to play aggressive without much repercussion so far. So we'll see if he kind of gets into that similar situation where he gets so big, kind of like the Jax the previous game, where it's going to be hard to take him down.
Well, they do have the Malphite ult to initiate. My complaint with people playing solo Q Yasuo is that without any sort of a knockup to initiate for you, you are essentially playing a very binary character. Either you land the knockup, you get a combo, and you just murder everything in sight, or you're just standing at the backline saying, oh god, I can't do anything this game. Having someone like the Malphite who can initiate for you makes that a infinitely more reliable pickup.
Yeah, every time if you see Malphite catch 2 to 3 people, you're immediately going to see Yasuo coming in right behind him. And they just got bursted so low that he'll be able to pick up kills out of it too. Cho'Gath doing everything he can stay alive may actually be enough. That really good flash by that Malphite. He'll be able to get out in time, but Cho'Gath just doing everything he can survive. Oh, the Jinx ult. We'll see if it's dead on.
Oh, that was so close.
Oh, just missing.
I do have
Good
a complaint
shot
for
by
Malphite,
Jinx,
though. Malphite
Well,
used
let's hear it.
pathing rather than cutting off the Cho'Gath. If he walked directly back at the turret, he would have just immediately killed him. Instead, he got looped around the turret twice and almost died for it.
Wukong trying to get his little body double out and just wasn't able to get the cooled off in time before Udyr closed that gap. Udyr's just so fast and having the boots of mobility. All he's looking to do is land that bear stun, get that red buff on you, and just auto-attack you to death.
A little bit of overkill with the ult from Morgana, but another really good
I was
kill.
thinking so as well. It's always kind of a hard choice whether you want to use the ult now and guarantee you get this kill, like don't risk them getting away, or hopefully there'll be a team fight within the next 2 minutes or before it would be off of cooldown where you would absolutely need that. She kind of figured, well, we're not going to have any big team fights around Dragon or anything for a while, so might as well take this advantage, and looks like they're going to get the second mid tower at 16 minutes into the game. Wukong going in with a low health, but burning his flash instead of running around. I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to go as well. Nice disengage on Kate there. Leona just missing her ulti though, but getting the exhaust off on Yasuo, that was definitely still the right choice.
Ziggs is coming in. Should be able to actually land this kill from what I see here.
Oh, that was actually really cool. The Ziggs, I don't know if you noticed that, was actually pump faking the Yasuo. He was like making it like he was gonna throw a bomb just to get that shield wall off, and didn't quite throw it. And now that the Morgana's here, it's gonna be the Udyr Morgana snare stun combo for a little while. Really good flash, but Jinx waiting on the other side. That's just unfortunate, but good fight by Ziggs. I think he played that about as best as you can expect in that situation.
My concern there, though, is that he actually ended up not walking through the wind wall. If he didn't delay, walk through, and immediately auto-attack queued, you would immediately have picked up that kill, and he could have backed out. I understand that. I understand why he wouldn't, because you're panicking. There's people everywhere, but just calming down a little bit and just sort of resetting yourself, he would have been able to get that.
Yeah, it's one of those, the confidence and knowing what you're able to do in that situation is really, really tough when you have 3 people surrounding you. But you're right, if he could have just walked through expecting the wind wall to was close enough and then getting that auto attack off, he would have been able to just blow himself over the wall and get out.
Mm-hmm.
Udyr just soloing Dragon, barely taking any damage. I'm sure that having that Trinity Force, he's just going to start to really fly into lanes, and no one's going to be able to outrun him now. Cho'Gath getting a fight back with that ultimate. It looks like Malphite's actually starting to get behind. It's really, really interesting. I always found that interesting about the Black Shield, that it doesn't stop Leona from kind of connecting and still coming to you.
It does same for Thresh, yeah, where if you hook, you can still go in, you just don't actually immobilize them.
Right.
I think it's a good gameplay mechanic, because if not, well, then you go from skill and counter to, oh, well, you just can't do anything.
Yeah, I completely agree, because that's kind of really your only advantage as Thresh or Blitzcrank or so some of those champions, to be able to get those hooks. And so Blitzcrank, okay, I can see that it kind of stops your pull, but Thresh, it's not just a pull; it's your whole kit, being able to like fly into the fight and get your ulti off in melee range. Looks like Udyr is just trying to cause havoc at this point, and they're getting wards out, getting vision. It's kind of exactly what they need to do at this point. Looks like Purple Team's a little low on vision, but they have enough of a fighting advantage where it's not going to matter too much. Oh man, just missing.
Leona getting the slow, but not quite getting the stun. She tries to flash in, goes way too aggressive, and gets taken down. Wukong does not have his ult here.
Yeah, he had used it just slightly earlier. Remember, Yasuo was the fed one, and so they've been trying to chase down Udyr, and Yasuo was going to come around and take out the back line so quickly.
That was a very, very nice combo between both of them. Landing the double knock-up, the ult, followed by the Malphite ult, just ensuring that there's no possible way the backline can escape. They should be able to turn this into an inhibitor, actually, because no one on the enemy team who can do much defense is up for the next 10 seconds or so.
Yeah, and just remember that even though Cho'Gath is like trying to get some tanky items, he doesn't really have any armor, so he's not going to get any sort of damage reduction from the Jinx or from Yasuo. Yeah, this is going to be kind of a tough situation. The blue team's only real chance here is to sort of hold out and try to gain some farm, get some items, get a good initiate in a team fight between Wukong and Leona. But short of that, it's going to be really, really dangerous for them to even try to defend, because Malphite can just ulti over and Yasuo can go in like he did on the Ziggs.
Yeah, it was very tail end of his Q. Honestly, though, I don't even know if that's worth it, because the rest of Purple Team is getting collapsed on now. He was the Fed member, and now he's shut down.
He went a little too ham there, just a little too aggressive on the tower. Although you got Ziggs, you were 9-1. Is it worth giving up that killing spree, all the gold you've gotten off of it, and also feeding the AD carry? Or even Cho'Gath, who's starting to pick up a little bit of steam. When you're kind of like pushing and closing in for the kill, do you want to give them a way out? And they didn't take the tower or the inhibitor when they probably could have just focused the tower and picked up an advantage out of it, even though they may not have gotten any kills. That's one of those things you're actually going to see a lot in solo queue, is that people oftentimes will pick the kill that kind of makes their character stronger, and it gives you a little bit more fun over top of taking an objective or suiciding for a tower. Kind of sees like what you see as valuable.
A lot of flashes going down top lane. Similar to his laning phase, I'm not sure why this Cho'Gath keeps trying to fight. Obviously, now that Wukong is here, he can. But he tried to duel Udyr before that fight went down, and so then they're just flashing back and forward, trying to stall until Wukong could get there. It just seems a little risky.
Yeah, he's been playing very, very risky since the beginning of the game. He kind of tried to fight him. I'm not sure why he did that so much earlier, right in front of his tower, just kind of expecting to be a little bit tankier. The really cool thing is that remember that if he can get up to level 11, having that true damage, his ultimate, as tanky as Malphite may be, and as tanky as Udyr might be, they don't have high health right now. They haven't really been building health. So Cho'Gath, with a combo and a little bit of help, can still full to zero somebody.
Unfortunately, Morgana not using her ult before the Hourglass, so At that point, she should not have wasted the cooldown. It's the CC you care about, not so much the damage, unless you're able to get a kill with it. Ned actually not able to save her. Flash goes down, heal goes down, and she's able to survive the Jinx ult.
Yeah, just dodging that zap at the end. The zap might have been able to take her down, but really, really good job and just like barely making it out of the way.
So Yasuo
like
is going to be worth paying attention to this point because he's just hit his second main power spike. He has his static shiv, which is his first one, where you're able to land lane kills. But now that he has Infinity Edge, he's going to be able to absolutely decimate anyone who's locked down and CC'd for long enough. He also has a little bit of lifesteal, so he can survive in fights for long enough to really have an effect. So it's really going to boil down to, can they set up a combo for him, and is blue team going to fall for that combo? Are they going to group tight enough for him to just clean up?
Again, we're seeing kind of the same pattern as we saw last game with Leona building the Glacial Shroud probably into a Frozen Heart. It looks like Cho'Gath also getting the Glacial Shroud into like a Frozen Heart. Getting that attack speed slow, yes, it's good. The issue is that remember how much armor pen Yasuo gets off of his ulti, so that armor really might not be the way to go for Cho'Gath. He may want to start stacking health to be able to take a lot more hits as opposed to reduce the few hits he's taking.
I would like to see Leona going for a Randuin's because she's going to be jumping into the middle of the team. I'm fine with a Frozen Heart being on Cho'Gath because of the mana, cooldown reduction, all things that he can make use of.
And he has health without having that item. He gets natural health, and so it's perfectly acceptable. But they should really be coordinating as a team who's going to build it so they don't double up on the passive.
Yeah, I want to see Leona with something like a Randuin's Sunfire Cape and a Banshee's Veil.
Yeah, get a little more aggressive. Try to get some more damage in there. Looks like Wukong's also going straight damage. No tank items at all right now. So I think they're going to try to use Cho'Gath as their tank and then have Wukong just come in and try to blow people up really, really fast.
Oh, that was so unfortunate. They landed a really good Malphite ult, but Yasuo was not in range to follow up. Yasuo did eventually get in range and able to land his own knock-up, but it was far too late. Your tank at that point is dead. I mean, they are able to clean up, but that was just a sloppy fight. They could have played that so much better.
I think it's kind of one of those things, like if you have a Jax when he has 10 kills, is he scared of jumping at 3 people? No. It might not be the best decision, but there's not that much risk involved when you have that sort of advantage.
I think they could have CC'd and locked down Yasuo a lot longer there. I saw a lot of overlapping of CC and just how that was played.
Yeah, the Malphite ult going off the same time as the Morgana ult. I think that Malphite thought that Yasuo might have just been on reach from there, but there is a range on his ultimate being able to go off. Probably should have just waited that extra second and just really, really sealed it.
It's possible that he's not played with the new Yasuo. Originally, his ult range was significantly longer. That has been changed a couple patches ago.
Definitely too long. I would agree.
Oh, it was a Nocturne ult.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous range. I played Yasuo just a few times, and being able to have someone behind their tower and I can still ulti them if my tornado hit, I thought was a bit ridiculous.
Yep.
Man, it was a really good disengage by the Leona and Wukong. They should probably be backing up right now. I'm not sure why Caitlyn and Ziggs are playing so aggressive when if they get hit, even one of them, the whole team's just going to steamroll down. Looks like Cho'Gath's going to try to set something up. Maybe Leona can get back in the fight in time. Leona does have her ulti.
Nice double ult there.
Oh, yeah, very, very well played. Actually, I'm not even sure the Caitlyn ult went off. She might still have it on a reduced cooldown.
I'm showing it with 65 seconds.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Very, very good. That's going to be one of the dangers is getting low on the purple team is that they can just execute you from so far away. We're seeing that super combo again with the Malphite, Morgana, Yasuo just melting the entire team. Malphite not backing down at all. This could really, really seal the deal for the blue team.
They already have mid inhibitor pushing. If they are able to land a sneaky kill onto Caitlyn, I would expect them to just try and end. Wukong is full damage, he can't defend.
Such a good snare on that Wukong. He's pure damage, so just by going aggressive on him and landing the snare where he's invisible stops his damage from going out. I think it looks like they're going to be able to get this inhibitor, but they're going to need to back up almost immediately afterwards. They're too low.
Oh, that poor Wukong.
Yasuo damage too much.
So now that they have double inhibitors, this is a 100% free Baron if they want it. They just need to heal up, ward up, and just take it. They can take it very, very quickly. Yasuo Windwall actually, unless they changed it, I could be wrong, it does block Baron shots.
Yasuo has 5,000 gold. I do not know why he doesn't just go back and buy a really big item, and they could almost just push for the win. Baron is a free Baron, so why not take it? But immediately afterwards, they should look into just pushing for the win at this point. Take the free Baron, push top lane, get that last inhibitor, choke them at the last two towers, and make sure you don't have any hard initiates on there, and just finish them off. The minions will do your job for you. I think blue team's real chance right now is to sort of set up a gank in maybe one of the bushes, or hope that the enemy team barons and push their lanes out. Caitlyn's been pushing the lanes out, so they actually, if purple team tries to do baron right now, they have a chance to sort of counter the fight maybe. But that's going to be their only chance of really turning this game around.
Wukong is onto Jinx, but she just flashes away, drops her traps, and is going to be perfectly safe.
And Ziggs from behind. It looks like blue team, their gank was expected.
Well, obviously, it sucks having Jinx pushed out of the fight. She ends up turning it around, gets the kill for herself. Gonna lifesteal very quickly off of this. I want to see them taking Baron. It would be a slight risk for them to try and end the game right now, so why not take the free objective?
Yeah, it's one of those, even though you could just end it and it wouldn't be too difficult, why do it when you know you can win it safely?
It would require too much communication, because they do have Caitlyn and Cho'Gath up, and you only have about 10 seconds to completely end the game. So you're going to be dealing with respawns. You would have to cycle and land your skill shots pretty much perfectly in order to make that work. I would just take Baron.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're not taking Baron once they had the advantage. It looks like the inhibitors were coming back up, so Udyr just wanted to make sure that they were immediately taken down.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea in this case.
Take the last tower, take the last inhibitor, and then who cares? They have to sit and defend the base. There's no chance of them stopping you from Baron, even if they wanted to.
Wukong trying to go in onto Malphite. Malphite's a little tanky for you to be trying to assassinate like that.
Yeah, I think Wukong probably needed to switch over to some tankier items a little bit earlier in the game, because he just went pure damage trying to get those kills. But if you don't get the kills, you're not going to be able to be useful in fights late game.
For sure. So that's definitely the end of the game here. Very good job to everyone. I want to give
really good team select.
For sure, yes. We've had a little bit of split focus, I feel, in some of the earlier games today, where people are just saying, I want to play this. And while that's fine, in solo queue you do kind of want to pick towards what your team needs. It just improves your chances of success that much more. In the meantime, though, I will do a quick rundown of final items and builds, and then I think we are done for today.
Yep. Yeah, I think that the item build wasn't as much of an issue for this game as it was necessarily team select. Is that it looks like the blue team, just at team select, you were talking about Leona and Caitlyn, we kind of saw that kind of happening in bot lane, where Jinx and Morgana were able to just counter really, really hard. Morgana getting 21 assists. She was involved in almost all the team kills. Actually had more gold than Malphite by the end of the game. So she was just setting up kills left and right. And it looks like the blue team, when they got behind, they got frustrated and just started making really aggressive plays that ended up costing them more than they would have gotten.
For sure. Now, I dislike the Cho'Gath's playstyle, but overall he still did quite well in terms of landing his combos and being sort of the tanky distraction that you would want come mid to late game. But my only real advice to him that I would just like to restate is you need to learn to wave control, and you need to learn how aggressive you can play with that character. It was just some very poor decision making there, and I don't want to single him out. I mean, these are a constructive workshop. I mean, you're here because you want to improve. That was just the main thing that really kept sticking out. It wasn't as though he couldn't land skills. It wasn't as though he picked a champion that could not work in their team comp. It was just poor execution due to decision making.
Yeah, I think that the purple team did a good job with the counter picking. Yasuo, really interesting against Ziggs. Ziggs had like a good item build for being up against. He got the Seeker's Arm Guard kind of to start, going into Zhonya's, knowing that they're going to be having some really hard initiates, and then hopefully just laying his bomb down Zhonya's and then launching himself out of the fight. Unfortunately, as well, even though he was trying to make plays, he had to try to take some risks to make these big plays, and they unfortunately did not pay off.
What I might have suggested for Ziggs is he has a semi-global ultimate, and your side lanes are having some issues. So if he was able to, let's say, have Wukong pick up some farm mids, that Wukong could pull himself back into the game because his ganks weren't working out. So if you have Wukong sort of hold the lanes as you're roaming, and just every time your ult comes up, go try and set up a gank or even just a little bit of damage in a side lane. Try and set them ahead in some way because you weren't going to be able to duel Yasuo at that stage of the game. Maybe, yes, early levels you can, but post 6, post first couple items, not so much. So I would have liked to see that just a little bit more communication in their team and how they were cycling between lanes.
Yeah, I think that the difficulty with Wukong is that although you see him in the LCS and you see him pretty popular in the higher level streams, it's actually really, really difficult for him to kind of steamroll early, and picking all AD items is one of those times where it's theoretically, if we can catch one of them or Leona can get an ulti off on 3 or 4 of them, then yeah, it's going to be really, really useful to have flat damage and kind of burst them down. The issue is when you're behind, you need to be building tanky. You need to be able to sustain these fights, make them last a little longer, give your teammates a chance to escape. But if you don't have any tanks, you just have Cho'Gath, it's not going to be able to spread the damage out enough. You're just going to get kind of burst down, and you saw that with Jinx being able to turn the fight around on him top lane. Even though she didn't have as much, a huge advantage, it would only take one wrong move from Wukong for him to kind of lose the fight.
Completely agreed. And I mean, Wukong, he's pretty much a level 6 jungler. I mean, his early game jungling pressure, especially now that the Q has been nerfed, is pretty low. So I completely agree with that. If they wanted to snowball early, if they wanted to really try and, let's say, camp the Yasuo and try and get Ziggs ahead, or if they really wanted to get one of their other lanes ahead, maybe something, if you wanted that same sort of playstyle, something like a Pantheon. We don't actually see Pantheon played nearly as much anymore, but similar strengths where you just sort of show up and turn around the fight. You have ways to make picks for your team. And that might be something for him to consider. If he is wanting to learn some other junglers, it might fit with his, at least the idea behind why you would pick Wukong. The same reasons stand for Pantheon.
Yeah, the real thing with a jungler is that you kind of want to pick somebody that has kind of a hard CC early. Like Udyr has that bear form, Pantheon has a stun, Elise has a stun. A lot of these junglers that you see picked that work really well in early games is somebody who adds CC. When you want to pick Wukong, it's when you have a Garen or you have a Rengar or somebody who is a heavy AD top lane where you're trying to add that armor pen and just burst somebody down. But when that's not working, you need to start working towards either a Frozen Mallet or a Triforce or something that will sort of keep you on top of them and kind of guarantee you a kill. When that's not happening, you have to switch to a tank. And he just kept pressing. It looks like he was building a Black Cleaver next. And although that had some health, just not really a tanky item like a Sunfire Cape or a Warmogs.
Mm-hmm. Now, overall, again, as you mentioned at the very start, there's not any large issues with item builds. I'm just trying to see if there's anything that's sticking out at me. I don't like Morgana building a Crystal Scepter. Because if you think about it, her W is an AoE, so it does essentially nothing. I mean, the slow from AoEs on Rylai's is pitiful. Your Q is already a snare, and your ult is already a slow and already a stun. I would have liked to see her building... she could have finished a Crucible if she wanted to cancel out one of the enemy team's stun, or she could have gone for a Banshee's Veil to ensure that she can get her ultimate off without having to blow her Hourglass.
She really, if she's going AP and getting all these assists, really could go like Athene's, get a little bit more AP, and instead of Rylai's for the cost, you almost want to go with a Liandry's because your W ticks will kind of give you a percentage health, and it's already an execute. It's kind of a better item in a couple of ways for Morgana in particular. Mm-hmm. I think that it wasn't really... too poor of decisions on anyone's part. When you have that big of an advantage, you can kind of experiment a little bit and try stuff, but it's probably not a great item for Morgana, especially against the enemy team where you have kind of a big advantage. You just want to burst people down. For sure.
Every time I comment on people building Crystal Scepter, they're saying it's because they want an aggressive defensive item. So like they want to continue doing more damage or more utility, but they will still want the health. And at that point, well... there are better options.
Your R doesn't get an advantage. Your Q won't get an advantage. Your W is literally the only thing that can even benefit from it, and it's an AoE, so it's minimal benefit.
My worst complaint is people who build Crystal Scepter on Karma. I've had it done in our... I've had a lot of people do it in our workshops. It's like, why are you building this? I even saw Crystal Scepter once on Anivia.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's when you're picking your items, try to do the math behind it on what exact advantage do I get out of this. So the reason for using a Deathfire Grasp is, oh, I'm going to use it, and then I have a high amount of burst that I'm able to cast right behind it. But, Deathfire Grasp isn't made for everybody. It's not the best item for everybody. So try to pick items that are very specific to your champion that will give you an advantage in that exact situation. Even with Ziggs and trying to pick up the Zonias was because he's against a Yasuo, but if he's just getting bursted down, even having a Banshee's Veil may seem like a strange item, but when you're just getting caught and kind of dove, that might not be a bad investment just to help you survive a little better. Your rule number one would just be stay alive.
Oh, for sure. And just far too many people in solo queue, I find, they say, this is my build. Okay, well, why are you building those items? Yes, they might synergize well together. Yes, they might work well on your champion. But you always need to keep in mind what you're dealing with on the enemy team, how far ahead, how far behind, your own team comp, enemy team comp, and that should be altering your build. If you're building the same items every time, then there's a problem.
Yeah, because each team you should be specifically building against. If you have an all AD team and you normally build a Spirit Visage, there's not really necessarily a reason to build a Spirit Visage or a Banshee's Veil against an all AD team when there's better items available. You could build a Randuin Zoman. You could build a Frozen Heart. And so you just really want to use your items to counter the enemy's damage on whoever their strongest champions are.
For sure. That being said, I think we're going to wrap up the workshops for today. Thank you so much for your help. I really do appreciate being able to get you in here, help Shoutcast. I know we've been sort of missing each other for a while now.
Yeah, I obviously keep a pretty busy schedule. I am going to try to make myself available on a lot more Sundays, so I'll see you again.